This is Nigel Farage, and he is a bit of a conspiracy theorist, as you can see in this video, and this video. But today he really went off the deep end when he started raving and ranting about what's happened to Donald Trump in the United States. If you're unaware, Donald Trump owns a resort in Florida called the Mar-a-lago, which is a kind of hotel slash spa slash restaurant resort members only club. Trump also uses it as a residency as well as a place to host some very disreputable characters. As you can see here, there's Donald Trump doing some really horrible dancing along with Epstein. Well, today it got raided by none other than the FBI, but we are unsure as to the reasons as to why, but we can hazard a guess because actually if you read the Mueller report properly, unlike some people who we're going to discuss later, you'll quickly find out that Mueller suggested that 14 other investigations are opened into the president, which could well be also to do with what's taken place at Mar-a-lago. Or it could be down to the documents that the president seems to be flushing down the toilet on a regular basis. But before we flush things, let's talk about Farage and what he has to say about the president.
As soon as the orange man threatened to take office, everything changed because he threatened the liberal order with which everybody was so comfortable.
Why is it that Nigel Farage is knocking liberty? Is that what he's knocking? Does he want an illiberal democracy? You get to vote in a system every 5 years, then have no say, and everything's hidden away and secreted? Is that what he wants?
And right from the day he was elected, they tried to delegitimize him. We had the Russia hoax. It went on for years.
Except it wasn't a hoax. In fact, it was real, and it was backed up by the Mueller report, as well as former MI6 agents from the UK.
Quote, Trump's unorthodox behavior in Russia over the years had provided the authorities there with enough embarrassing material on him to be able to blackmail him if they so wished.
In other words, that the FSB, the Russian security service,
had compromise on Donald Trump.
Basically, compromise is blackmail in Russian.
This was the, for want of a better word, this is the P-tape.
That's part of it, yes.
What did he tell you?
He relayed several sources, information, sub-sources, information that related to that event.
In the Ritz-Carlton Hotel.
Correct.
2013.
Yep.
The Mueller inquiry, which went on for 2 years.
Which was the follow-up to investigate whether or not Trump and Russia had colluded and whether or not there was Russian interference. Let's have a listen to Kellyanne Conway, a right-hander of Donald Trump, defending their actions.
The idea that any of us, and me as a campaign manager, would cheat, steal, lie, cut corners, talk to Russians was an insult from the beginning.
So let's now listen to John Oliver actually completely take this argument apart and give a brief breakdown of what was actually in the report.
A fact is that the Mueller report explicitly shows Trump and his associates doing many of the things that she just listed. Because here's the important thing to remember. The report only vindicates the administration on their own false premises. A year ago, we pointed out that Trump and his team were trying to center the narrative on collusion, despite the fact that that term has no specific legal meaning in criminal law.
Which is also quite possibly why Nigel Farage thinks that Donald Trump didn't do anything wrong. Either that or he's complicit in what Donald Trump did do.
But by reframing the investigation that way, Trump ensured that anything short of Mueller publishing 400 pages of text messages between him and Putin gaming out election fraud meant the whole thing was a complete waste of time. So Mueller's report did not find collusion and wasn't trying to because that word doesn't even apply here, and it didn't establish that Trump's team was part of a criminal conspiracy to interfere with the election. But it found a lot of other stuff. Because just consider what we learned or had confirmed this week. Russia interfered in our election and made efforts to help Trump win. And while his campaign did not provably cooperate with Russia, they seemed eager to accept their help in a way that no one should be comfortable with. Also, Trump may have obstructed justice, and if he didn't, it might only be because people who work for him ignored his orders.
And the irony will not be lost here because I'm going to show you a load of clips from Republicans and Trump, as well as now you having seen Nigel Farage, all defending what Donald Trump's been doing, whilst attacking the FBI and other police forces.
And on top of all of this, the Attorney General, the nation's top law enforcement official, has proven himself to be a dishonest hack.
Now this is an important thing that he's just done here. He said and outed the Attorney General for the United States for being a liar. Now, he would have run that past his legal team. He would have obviously looked through the document, and quite frankly, America has a suing culture. The Attorney General should have really taken him to court for a comment like that, but he didn't. So as you can see, Nigel Farage is building up quite a case here. He's dismissing Epstein, he's dismissing the Mueller report, he's dismissing all Russian interference. Bit odd, don't you think? And he's saying it on British television, which is a cause for concern.
2 utterly false impeachments.
So let's be clear in this. Donald Trump blackmailed the Ukrainian President Zelensky with arms and aid in order for him to start up an investigation into a political rival. And the irony of all ironies is that Farage, as well as some of the other Republicans, are going and saying this is exactly what you shouldn't do when you're president of the United States. You shouldn't go after former presidents or future presidents. Have a listen to this.
You know, we've had divisive politics and even anger in our politics for as long as this country's existed. Sometimes worse than others, but it's always been there. The one thing we've never had is we've never been a country where people who take power, like becoming president, now use that power to persecute their past or future political opponents. We've never seen that.
Except just then, where you did just see that, because that's exactly what Donald Trump did when he tried to blackmail President Zelensky of the Ukraine. The other really interesting thing is what happened in the Senate. For the first time ever in an impeachment, a person of the same party as the president or person being impeached went to the opposite side. Mitt Romney, a past presidential candidate, went against his party, against Donald Trump, and sided with the impeachers, the Democrats. And what was the second impeachment about, which has never happened before in US history? It was about insurrection. Insurrection of the US Capitol. An insurrection, an attempted coup to get rid of a democratically elected body of the United States, which we've now found out Donald Trump wanted to be a part of and had to be stopped by his own Secret Service. You can find out more in my video, The Capitol Riots. But the other interesting fact are those numbers in the bottom right hand corner. That means seven Republicans from the Senate actually voted that Donald Trump was guilty of an attempted insurrection. That had never happened before in United States history, where people from the same party as the person being impeached switch sides. Until the previous time with Mitt Romney, now we've got 7 Republicans voting against their own president.
But still they haven't stopped, because overnight, extraordinarily, the FBI have raided Mar-a-lago. They're seeking documents from the Oval Office that they somehow think Trump has kept on his coffee table. Well, had he ever planned a coup on the 6th of January, I doubt he'd have been stupid enough to keep the documents, and certainly not to take them back to his home at Mar-a-Lago. Except
it seems as if there is photographic evidence of some of these documents that have been claimed to be the thing that the FBI are looking for being flushed down the loo. Now bear in mind, the FBI haven't stated at this point when Farage is saying all this stuff as to what they're looking for. So Farage is either making up stuff or he's having an educated guess. You decide.
The reaction to this has been quite astonishing. A lot of very fair-minded commentators in America saying this is a step too far.
Fair-minded indeed. Well, that's interesting terminology from Nigel, but it really isn't shocking. But if you start to read some of these tweets, you'll see that people are either questioning about civil war, being prepared for civil war, getting their guns ready, or getting the ammunition ready. When you see the actual statistics in graph format of the number of times that the word civil war has been brought up, it is actually quite shocking. But that might not mean anything. However, there are other people on YouTube and on Twitter really stirring this up. What's worse is that actually some of these people are now saying defund the federal police, also known as the FBI. Yet for years they've been defending it, including Farage, who you'll never hear talk about how Republicans are saying to defund the federal police. Jesse Kelly here is claiming that his rights have been violated. So let's be clear. If you are going to go and do an investigation, especially on the president, you can't just go in there. you have to get some evidence. Maybe some images of said documents being flushed down the toilet. Possibly some witness testimony.
So as I was reporting out this book, I learned that staff in the White House residence would periodically find the toilet clogged. The engineer would have to come and fix it. And what the engineer would find would be wads of, clumped up wet printed paper, meaning it was not toilet paper. This was either notes or some other piece of paper that, they believed that he had thrown down the toilet.
And then when you've collected all of that evidence, you have to go to a judge who's got to then assess that evidence and make a decision as to whether or not the FBI, the police, are allowed to go into the property. But according to Jesse Kelly, that still means that in some way, Trump has had his rights infringed. And it's interesting as well, because Trump put the head of the FBI, Christopher Wray, in charge. And he wasn't just confirmed by Donald Trump, he was confirmed by every member of the Republican Senate. But of course, for some people who haven't really got their cogs working, this seems to be suggesting that not only is Donald Trump in trouble, but so are you. This is Steven Crowder, someone who I really don't like. And he definitely seems to be going off the deep end, because he's suggesting that this is one of the darkest days in history, but also he's suggesting that actually this could lead to war. Now, interestingly, I have reported that tweet because I think that's an incitement towards violence. On top of that, I put in a little response to what he'd written saying this is one of the darkest days to your personal freedom. Actually, if you learn a lot from other democracies, this is actually a good thing. It means no one is above the law, whether they've been president or not. But also, learn from other countries that this is part of a functioning democracy. In the UK recently, Boris Johnson, a now former Prime Minister, was fined for breaking the law whilst in office and has now been democratically removed. On top of that, I've found at least 4 different counts in Brazil of presidents being sent to jail. Berlusconi in Italy was put under house arrest. And most interestingly of all, Jefferson Davis. He was the president of the Confederation and he was put in jail. This is a new chapter in American history, and it is clearly stating no matter how rich you are, no matter how powerful you've been or are, you are not above the law. And for those right-wingers, they can't handle the truth. It looks as though something must have gone down with Donald Trump.
This is the Democrats using the judiciary in a way that it was never designed to be.
For the FBI to go after the former president like this, it has to be serious, or there has to be significant evidence. But for Nigel, it's another conspiracy. There is a reason for that judiciary. There is also a reason for an impeachment policy. It is there as a check and balance on the power and the position of the president, which is something Nigel would never know because I doubt he's ever read the Constitution. Once again, thank you to all my Patreon and YouTube supporters. You keep this channel growing and going, and if you'd like to be one of those, please look at the link in the description. Thanks, bye.